My manager introduced me to Drake. He hopped out of this Lex, and then he's just like, yo, yeah. You know what I mean? Like, we didn't really know each other. To be honest, I was like, I want to rob this nigga. Like, he looked, you know what I mean? Like, he got a chain on his neck. Like, I was in that stage, that mindset. I was still selling drugs.
They're coming down to the wire. After center's handed. Rich strike. He's coming up on the inside.
Power Rangers.
So yeah, this is a big episode, obviously because you're here.
Yeah,
but you know, also too.
We picked the right guest. For the first go, right? Like we did this. This is a calculated effort right here.
Yeah,
that's blessed.
Yes, sir.
It's like pancakes though. First one's trial and error, so we'll see. We'll see how it goes.
It's like children too.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I'm the guinea pig.
So yeah, I don't know how you want to lead this off.
Do you?
Because it's gonna be like the first half's gonna be pre-recorded.
Right.
So this is just gonna be like a transition.
Yeah. So do we look into the camera and say, "Do we use this? Is this what we use?"
I think this is a good segue.
Welcome. Right? Welcome. That's how. Yeah. Here we are. Welcome back, everyone. So I'm sure you're noticing a few things different about this episode of Down the Wire.
There's a black guy here.
Elephant in the room.
I love how he thinks that's a first too.
Took one look at my hair and he's like,
It's like two white guys talking hip hop. He's like, I don't know. Let's see how this goes.
Oh, we're joined by a very special guest, Rich Kid in the studio, renowned producer hailing from Toronto. Credits such as Drake, Some Real, Cardinal, Official, Chaos, Nelly Furtado, one of my 3 favorite Nellies in the entire world. J Electronica, Busta, Talib Kweli, you know it. This guy is the fucking man. Give it up, folks. Thank you very much for being here today, Rich.
Thank you, brother. Thank you.
Do you prefer Rich Kid, Rich, Mr. Kid, Sir Kid? How do you?
Ooh, Sir Kid.
Sir
I never got Sir Kid before.
Yeah.
Makes me feel like I'm knighted by the queen.
Yes,
sir. I like that shit.
That's how.
No, just call me Rich, man. Just call me Rich.
That's how our guests should feel when they're sitting in that chair over there, knighted by the, an honor.
It's an honor.
How'd you come up with that name?
Can't honor it, man. What?
How'd you come up with the name?
I didn't even come up with the name. Like my real name is Richie, and when I was like just running around as a little fuckhead, all the older guys from my block kind of like called me the kid, right? Because I was just around older guys, kind of learning from them, just taking in game, and just they were teaching me a whole bunch of shit, like how to sell weed and how to rap and how to do a whole bunch of stuff. So eventually you just put Rich with Kid, and they were like, yo, it's Rich Kid, it's Rich Kid, it's Rich Kid. And that's what they called me out throughout high school. So I was like, I'm gonna just run with that name as a, just my street name, and then also as my.
I feel like I've heard that a bit
name.
though. Like artists being like, I didn't even come up with my name. Like other people came up like with it for me.
Or like people get them on like generators, like Post Malone and Childish Gambino.
The Wu-Tang generator.
How'd you feel when Rich the Kid bust on the scene?
I don't feel no ways, because there was actually a Rich Kid before that, spelled the exact same way, and he was signed to DJ Khaled. I think he changed his name to Nino Brown, but I remember like in that whole blog era, whenever I would drop, they would use his picture, and whenever he would drop, they would use my picture. So it caused a lot of confusion. But then I think I got like 1-2 Miami fans, but then I think there's some video put out like saying that he wasn't from the hood he was claiming. So I think if I went down to Miami, niggas would probably like try to bust my ass thinking I was from. So that was very dangerous.
So there's a long
but I actually met Rich the Kid actually when I was working with my homie Casey Veggies in LA. I don't know if we're in LA or we're in Atlanta. I think we're in Atlanta. And we're at this studio called Tree Sound, and he was shooting a video with Rich the Kid. He introduced me to him. And it was just so awkward. He was just like, yo, Rich Kid, me, Rich the Kid. Oh, shit, man. Y'all niggas got the same name, man. Yo, that's crazy, man.
It's like,
I was like, that's not that crazy, man.
Have you ever seen that video of A$AP Rock meeting A$AP Rocky?
No.
It's same shit. They're like,
that's
oh,
crazy.
No way.
That's great. Like, yeah, it was kind of the same shit. And, I don't think we really, like, hit it off. I didn't really give a fuck.
I thought that would like bond. Like that would be a good way to bond.
I think I was just like, oh yeah, aren't you one of those Migos? Because he collaborates with Migos a lot. But I always thought he was like the third Migo, because I think Offset was in jail.
Right.
Them times, like that whole time. This is before Bad and Bougie, right? So I just thought he was another Migo, but I guess not. I guess maybe he took offense to that. I don't know.
Haven't
But-
talked since.
But that's the thing. A lot of people now call me Rich the Kid, and I just gotta correct them. Like, nah, nigga, Rich Kid. There's no the or the Rich Kid. You can call me the Rich Kid.
I think it's more
Sir
efficient.
Rich Kid.
Yes, sir. Now we gotta go with sir. I gotta feel like a fucking a royal.
Yeah.
You know.
I kind of want to take it back though to the start because I saw your first producing credit came when you were 19 years old.
Yeah.
And that was on a track called, what was it?
The Get Right.
The Get Right song by Frank and Dank. Sick name. That's a dope name.
Frank
Yeah.
and Dang. Yeah.
How did that
I
come?
wonder how they got that name, Frank and Dank. I think one of them's actual name is Frank.
I thought you were saying Dank.
His mom named him Dank. Yo, that's how you know that mom was on loud from time. But yeah, Frank Nitty, he's like he's the cousin of Jay Dilla. So they're both like proteges of Jay Dilla. You can find them on like a lot of older Jay Dilla shit. Fantastic Volume 2 as well, like with Slum. Like they were like an essential part of his Jay Dilla's growth and stuff like that. So I kind of met them around the times that I was starting to come into the city, like, because I'm from Mississauga, which is a suburb of Toronto. And I was mainly doing a lot of local stuff in my section, but then when I wanted to start to branch out and work with different artists, my manager at the time, Courtney, he would bring me to like clubs and stuff like that when I was like 18 and just let me meet different industry heads. And one of the industry heads I met was this guy, Ivan Evidente, who worked as like a marketing manager at Universal, but he also had a label called Needleworks, and he had signed Frank and Dank to that label. I think Frank and Dank came up here to Canada to like take over. Like they thought they were like, if they were Americans in the Canadian game, they would take it over. That didn't prove to work very well, but you know, they made a good effort. They had like done songs with Socrates and a lot of Canadian artists, and that's where I first heard their music. Like I seen on Much Music. I was like, oh, okay, yeah, these guys are dope. And then, you know, months later, I'm in the studio with them playing them some beats, and then they pick. They're mainly making like club kind of orientated tracks, dance tracks, but then
that was
they
the
pick.
time though, wasn't it? Like,
Yeah.
this early 2000s or like that.
This is
of
like
stuff.
like mid 2000s, like
Gucci
more so the
Mane,
late
like-
2000s.
Like
but
Atlanta's kind of like all the music coming out of like this American South at that point. It's like kind of that strip club banger type shit.
but I would say like they were still making like
it's tasteful.
they were from Detroit, so Detroit didn't they had that kind of like Detroit soulful but like club kind of sound. Like they were making like that club shit, like how like Ludacris used to make,
Right,
and,
okay,
like, you know what I
okay.
mean, like that kind of
Not
shit.
Atlanta, but
Not yet.
Yeah,
not,
okay, I
it
see what you're
was-
saying.
Like trap hadn't fully taken over yet. Trap was still there, but I feel like it was still regional, right? And other people loved it from around, but it wasn't like New York started taking it yet. You know what I mean?
Okay.
And then they picked this like one soulful beat that I did, like that had like no samples. It was just like some chords and a little Barrington Levy sample I put in there, and then they fucked with it, and I was just like, this is weird, because like I usually know them for making like, you know, up tempo club kind of bangers, or even if it's a Jay Dilla banger, it's like still like club orientated. And
Yeah.
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then they fucked with it, and they wrote some like real like, you know, shit about family, shit about like the struggle, the hustle, where they come from. And I think once they put that out and they put my name on the track and it went on radio, a lot of people looked at me as like, yo, Rich makes soulful type beats. Like he's kind of like a Kanye or some shit like that. So that's what kind of got my name out in the city, just from that playing on radio.
Did you think that would be the start of a whole 15+ year career in music?
Yeah, I was already like trending towards that. I already wanted to figure out ways to get in the game. I was also rapping as well. So, you know, I was just looking for different people to work with and getting out there, and I was sitting in certain sessions. So that one kind of, I guess, helped me really solidify my name in the city as a young and upcoming producer, you know?
So let's go to 2007 now. We got the second Drake mixtape, comeback season.
Yeah.
So this is you're young, 2007. You and Drake are just kind of bursting out on the scene.
Yeah.
You're working with 40 and Drake. Like that's a producer rapper duo that is like gonna go down in the in history.
Already a legacy.
I was gonna say annals
duo.
of history, but it's too early for butt puns quite yet.
Deep in the annals of history.
I know you're not shy of the butt joke though. I know Mr. hate us because the anus and the.
Hey man, I had one of my youths from my program like ask me like, "Yo, Rich, really, what's with the name on IG?" I'm like, "What about it? Like, they hate us because they ain't us."
You gonna
and
hate?
I just
I
screenshot the picture of the definition of anus. I'm like, the anus is the asshole, right? They hate us because they're assholes. You're like these kids don't get wordplay. Like, what happened to bars?
We saw that. We saw them. We're like, this. Yeah, we'll get along. This guy right up our alley.
Right.
But yeah, just talk about that sort of time in Toronto. Like that's like you're gonna go down as one of those architects of the Toronto sound, especially with your role in that early sort of superstar that Drake was about to become.
And I appreciate you saying that because I feel like that's always what I wanted to do. I never really cared about being a superstar, being a super producer. I just wanted to be one of the people that helped build, right? Like I've never been in architecture or fucking building buildings, but I've always found the science of it incredible. Like how, a developer can fucking scheme out how he wants to build the building, and then it's like it goes from a page to an actual building. Like I'd be looking at buildings like that, and I look at the music game like that shit. And I always wanted to be that person that supplied, whether I'm making a single or making like just album cuts, right? Like I just want to be part of the history of shit, just so I can, tell my kids like, yo, I was part of this, and listen to it and see all the things that developed from the things that me and my generation started. But that time in the scene, it was interesting. There was I feel like somehow it's like the forgotten time in Toronto hip hop, because there's a lot of shit that happened in the 90s that like Choclair and Cardinal and Chaos and Socrates did that, like I feel like always gets remembered. And then in the 2000s, when it was like, albums started declining, the internet and P2P sharing, Napster, and all those things started happening, there was like a lack in Canadian media focused on Toronto hip hop.
Mm-hmm.
And it didn't like really start resurging until like maybe Cardinal got that joint with Akon, like maybe in like 2009 or whatever.
Dangerous.
Right, Dangerous, yeah. So I feel like we were part of like the resurgence, like, me, Boy Wonder, T Minus, a whole bunch of producers at the time. Like we were part of like this almost the dark ages of Toronto hip hop, whereas like there's a lot of shit going on, but it's like a lot of the youngins now won't really know about it because it was like kind of hidden. And it's like, I hope I could start a hip hop museum to kind of show off that shit. But it was at that time when I met Drake, he was still doing Degrassi. I had met 40 separately. I didn't
Was
even
he in
really...
the wheelchair at that point?
When I met him?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
He wasn't in character.
Early days Degrassi or like,
I think he was... Nah, actually, well, I never watched Degrassi. I never watched one episode. So to be honest, the only scene I've seen from Degrassi is when he's running from the guy and he gets shot in the back. And I actually like when I did a rap show and I was like shouting out all the legends from Toronto, I actually like used clips from each of the rappers' videos, and then for his part I used that. I always clown on Drake. We clown each other and call each other names and shit because that was our relationship. But
me too.
I think yeah, like Drake, my manager introduced me to Drake, and it was like on the corner of like Duncan and Adelaide when it was like the club district back in the day, and he hopped out of this Lex, and then he's just like, yo, yeah. You know what I mean? Like we didn't really know each other. To be honest, I was like, I want to rob this nigga. Like he you know what I mean? Like he got a chain on his neck. Like I was in that stage, that mindset. I was still selling drugs.
All you knew about him, you watched him get shot on Degrassi.
See, I didn't even know that at the time. I just knew he was like an actor, rapper, but I didn't really know who he was. Never heard his music. But then it was he had this beef with this rapper named Aristo from Brampton, and I think Aristo used, well, I don't think, I know. Aristo used my beat to diss Drake, and they had this back and forth and shit like that. And then I guess Drake hit me up, and he was just like, "Yo, you did that beat for Aristo?" I'm like, "Yeah." But like I didn't actually do it for him. Like he just took one of my beats. I'd done songs with Aristo, but he just took one of my beats and used it. And then Drake's like, "Yo, that beat's hard. Let's work." I'm like, "All right, bet. Let's do it."
You make that beat? Yeah, like, I like it. Oh, okay.
Yeah, you know, like for me, I'm like, you know, Drake's not a street. Even if it was a street guy, I wouldn't be scared of anything. But it's like I always looked at it as like these guys ain't really like shooting over shit. Like it's not like how it is now, like where niggas is calling out each other blocks and actually like killing the, like, you know, we've had a lot of like rap deaths in the last few years in Toronto, like of pretty high profile
absolutely,
you know, local rappers. But you know, it was nothing, you never really, the streets remained the streets and the rap game was the rap game back then, it felt like.
Well, I mean, like Drake is like at that point almost considered child star still.
Yeah,
you know what I
yeah.
mean? Like,
yeah, and his shit was
on
like
some Disney Channel type shit.
Yeah,
right?
his shit was like nationally syndicated. Like people in the States knew who he was. Like it's, you know, he was a pretty big deal. It was kind of a big deal in the city for him to rap, but I feel like a lot of people never took him seriously. So when he was working on Comeback Season, he had just asked me to send him some beats. I had sent him like 2 joints, Faded and Easy to Please, which he recorded those first. And then he said he needed something for a track he wanted to do with Cardi. I'd sent him what would become The Last Hope with him, Cardi, and Andrina. And then the final track I sent for that, he was like, asked me, "Yo, I need an intro." And then he shot me the Donnell Jones track, Come Back. And then that ended up being the intro track to the project. And with 40, I kind of met 40 separately through working with Socrates on actually mixing the joint I Wish I Knew Natalie Portman, which was originally Socrates' joint, but it was called On the Run at that time. Socrates was on tour with Nelly Furtado. They had wrote it on tour, and then 40 was mixing it. I remember going to Parkdale, meeting 40 and kind of like just chilling with him and finding out he's worked with a lot of like guys that I knew, like Empire and like some older rap groups. And then it just, I guess I kind of made the connection, like, oh, you know Drake? Oh, yeah, I fuck with him too. And, you know, eventually 40 became my mentor in the program that I now help run called Remix Project. And through that, Drake was coming in and recording a lot of tracks. And I remember one night they're like, "Yo, we got to put this mixtape out. Like, we're putting it all together." And, you know, we were going back and forth from room to room. I was giving fucking 40 like stems for the beats and stuff like that. And he mixed it in like a matter of like a night. And then the next day it was out, and Comeback Season was I think it was one of those because he already had a song Brand New out, which was going kind of viral in its own way. So I think Comeback Season was his, like, you know, So Far Gone is the mixtape that really put him on. But I think Comeback Season was the mixtape that made him like an internet kind of buzzing artist. Like people started like really taking him in, and girls really started fucking with him.
The transition from TV like TV star trying to rap to like
a rapper.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Like, cause he showed all sides of that. He was singing on that, rapping on that. Like on his previous mixtape, he wasn't singing. It was just straight, you know, I guess you would call backpack Drake.
I'm having the same problem in my career, man. You know, from podcaster to rapper, no one will take me seriously.
Hey man, keep trying, man.
Different type of words.
Keep going, man. Anything's possible, like Kevin Durant said. Or no, not Kevin Garnett.
Kevin Durant never said that. Kevin Durant is a hating ass man. He would never say anything possible.
No, nothing is possible with that guy. You gotta join Golden State to make it possible. I hope he doesn't see that. He's probably gonna see that and fucking tweet me and shit.
Yeah, that guy
like,
lives
you
on
niggas
his
don't know
phone,
shit.
Bro. I swear to God, that guy just like,
stood on end. You know?
I swear he just looks up like his name and just sees.
He's like a vulture that looks above Twitter.
Yeah,
just like waits to swoop in.
He
whenever
just
you
woke up out of a deep sleep. Someone just talked shit about me.
It's like the guy in Stranger Things in the fucking the Upside Down. He just feels everything going.
It's funny that you said like Toronto's in a dark time though, like the dark age of hip hop, like during that era. Like I'm just trying to think, did it feel like? Because I'm just picturing like a couple of 20-year-olds just from Toronto. Like Toronto's not really on the map at that point.
Yeah.
Just making music together. Did you guys like feel like you were doing something special, or did it just feel like, hey, we're just making music, let's see what happens? Or did it feel different because you had been making music?
I think
for a
when
while?
you're young and you're making music, it always feels special, especially when you're collaborating with a lot of people doing shows. At that time, I didn't travel. I didn't start traveling and going to the States and doing that whole shit until like 2010. But like beforehand, I felt like, yeah, we had a great scene. Like it was the budding of the scenes. And, Drake was a part of that. He hung out in a lot of different scenes, took from a lot of different rappers, hung out with a lot of different OGs, Chaos and Cardi and Socrates, all kind of like molded him in their own way, and he took from them. And then, he was also going back and forth from the States and here. So he was taking game from everybody, kind of like learning. And then for me, it was just about kind of like, I wanted to be a Khaled before a Khaled, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, so I made a mixtape series called We On Some Rich Kid Shit. And I did like 7 editions of those.
Mm-hmm.
And it would just include like just local artists from the city. And then I'd have a show around Caravana time and then bring the artists on stage and we would perform. We'd sold out Revival, sold out Great Hall. We've done like so many shows. And at a certain point, it was like, okay, like, where do we take this? So, there's always going to be a glass ceiling, but it's when you're doing a whole bunch of work and it all seems great, but then you're like, okay, where's the money from this? Where's the solid impact from this?
Yeah.
And like, I think we all got to a glass ceiling. Even Drake probably got to a glass ceiling feeling like, yo, I gotta leave and make something happen somewhere else.
Well, like we said the word architect, and that's like you pride yourself on it, like, like helping build the scene. Like having lived through it and contributed to the Toronto music scene, seen where it is now, are you proud of where it's like how far it's go? Or how do you feel about it right now?
Yeah, for sure. Because essentially, like, it does take a one artist, I feel like, a lot of times to break through and to make waves, especially from places that aren't really like looked at as hip hop epicenters, right? And even though our country is big and huge and we have a lot of people, I think, the core of like hip hop isn't really instilled in our country. Just like basketball isn't our main sport. It's kind of like hip hop isn't our main music. And not to say hip hop is the main music of the States, but it's an American culture. It's like something that's ingrained and been passed around at different states. And a lot of people have their own regional kind of sound, where I think in Toronto or just anywhere in Canada, we had to like kind of watch our bigger brother do it and then figure out how we want to sound. And sometimes it takes decades to really
trickles down. And
exactly.
I feel we had a guest on one time, kind of make the comparison to like how like we're really like Ottawa's a really big like thrift city. Like people like thrift a lot of their clothing, and it's kind of that same sort of vibe in the music scene, perhaps even on the larger scale when it comes to Canada, is that a lot of it is like recycled methods taken from various regions in America and then kind of put together. Because like Toronto, I think like you've kind of got the trap vibe to it, but there's also that sort of R&B sound that came from way back, right?
Yeah. We're one big value village.
It's a great Canada, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that was a deep metaphor. I like that.
Right? Yeah.
Trust me. You could go Salvation Army with it too, but
yeah, we're we got a bit higher prices.
Yeah, right.
You know what I mean? It's funny, bro. I'm from Nova Scotia, so like the biggest artist for me back in the day was Classified. Like I didn't think that.
Man. Shout out Luke.
I didn't think that hip hop could get any bigger than that guy.
Yeah.
Right? Like,
no, and even just going out to I stayed with Class for a couple of days in Enfield and like
yes, sir.
Yeah, went out to Enfield and like the way he's a celebrity in his hometown, bro. He'll go to the fucking whatever you guys call LCBO over there, like the liquor store over there.
Like the
like, hey Luke, how you doing? Oh, great work at the Junos, Luke.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like he's just a local superstar.
That's so dope. That's like that's kind of like Dave Chappelle. Like he
hometown-
lives in Ohio and he just walks around the town. People are like, hey, what's up, Dave? Like
right, like just normal. But like that's the thing, I've also been to a couple of his shows, tour dates around Canada and stuff like that, and just seeing the amount of people that are at his shows. That even like the demographic, like, I think a lot of people would think it's just straight white people at the shows, but it's like Chinese, Black, Indian, Spanish. Like there's so many different people at his shows that love his music, and And I'm like, I'm proud of the man because it's like he's worked very hard. He's one of those legacy artists that's like he went on tour and dropped a whole bunch of albums, but he didn't really start to get like the national recognition until he did that "Oh Canada."
Oh Canada,
joint,
yeah.
right.
And then like Kung Fu Ninja and Latin Classy are just like commercial like.
Yeah, Inner Ninja.
Inner Ninja, sorry, yeah.
Kung Fu Ninja.
Kung Fu Ninja.
You're
not a Class fan. That ain't Class.
Those are the tracks, and those are because he was big at like he has the one track, the Maritimes, and like that track.
I remember that. I remember that watching that on Much Music. I'm like, who the fuck is this guy? And I was like, honestly, I was just like, oh, this shit kind of corny, but it goes. You know what I mean? Like, but I never took in it was Class, and then I would see a couple videos. I was just like, okay, this guy's dope. And then by the time he dropped "Oh Canada," I'm just like, okay, this guy can make like some anthems. And then actually meeting him because we were kind of like I was signed to the label that he was managed by, Black Box. You know, we started, you know, actually like showing some respect for each other. And I actually brought him out to one of my shows because he was my manager's favorite artist. Like my manager loved Classified. And it's weird because my manager loves like Jadakiss and like gangster rappers. So it's like he was always saying, you know, Class is his favorite artist. And it was his birthday the same day as the show, so I was able to finesse Class coming through the show and showing love and coming on the mic and wishing him a happy birthday. And you know, since then, me and Class been cool, and he's a good dude, man. Like that guy is really a man that shows people like, yo, hip hop is possible in this country. It's just the thing about him is, you know, he kind of reflects a lot of what outer inner city Canada is, right? Like he's a country dude. That's right. To a certain degree. So I think that relates to a lot of people around Canada. And that's why he's able to tour so many places, right?
It's the same shit as like the Trailer Park Boys. You know what I mean? Shot in Nova Scotia, but for some reason that's so appealing to everyone because like it's just some goofy shit that just somehow worked. Not to say Classified's goofy because he's done some like when you speak about Classified in Nova Scotia, people are like, yeah, like that's our fucking guy.
It's crazy that it took a guy from Nova Scotia to show that hip hop's possible.
That's Canada. Who I thought. Like I thought the exact same thing as a guy. Like I remember listening to him and being like, yo, if he can do it, I can do it. Not to say like I was like trying to be a rapper, but like in the sense of wanting to get out of the small town, right? He's from a town not much bigger than mine, bro. Yeah, it's crazy.
And that's how I feel like Sunreal is for the West Coast, right? Like you know, he came out of Vernon, BC. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, and for him to like, you know, move to Vancouver, him and his manager Byron like start taking over shit, like just doing shows after shows after shows and really building his name up. And now he's, you know, he does everything from fucking rap to like pop and stuff like that. But he kind of showed a lot of people from that side that like, yo, if you just focus on making great songs and you work hard and you tour and you invest in yourself, it's possible. Now he got gold and platinum records. Man.
One of the crazy things that like I realized while prepping for this was like Sunreal was like I liked him a lot in high school. There was one album where I just really listened to it, and I'm like kind of like when I like an artist, I kind of geek out on them and I'll backtrack through their projects. So I had heard your guys' collab tape, The Closers. Yeah. From like in high school, hadn't thought much of it, right? Until now, and I'm listening to it, getting back to Houston. I'm like, holy shit, bro! Like I remember bumping your shit in my Mazda 3, just driving through back roads of buttfuck nowhere, Nova Scotia, dude.
And that's the thing. It's like I love that project just because I love all my projects, but I love that project especially because it was my first time executive producing a project where I had full control. Everybody let me have control, and it's not like I never had control of other stuff, but it's like I'm working with another artist, right? That's doing this thing, and it just put me in that seat where it's like, okay, I know how to like bring stuff from my brain to the actual wax and the actual CD or to reality, and that's why I love Sunreal. He's always trusted me, trusted my vision. He's always like appreciated, you know, how well I rap, how well I produce, and it's always been likewise. And we've always had a great relationship. And that album, I feel like I got him to open up a lot about different things, about, you know, his father, about, you know what I mean, just his hometown, like all these different things that I felt he hadn't touched on previous projects that, you know, that I was producing on. You know what I mean? Now I felt like it's almost like you know, I don't want to say he's the Jay-Z and I'm the Kanye, but like, you know what I mean, it was like a Watch the Throne kind of thing where it's like, you know, now you're getting like a more deeper inside look at who Sunreal is and what he's about. And you know, I was happy to like just go on tour with him, experience the West Coast shit, and then have people sing those songs back to us, and you know, really geek out about that shit. And you know, I think that was the start of him actually realizing where he wanted to go as an artist.
This is a completely side question, but like, do you know if he's super into golf?
I think he's into it. I know he plays it
because
he just did the RBC Open, like he performed that there, and
Right.
I don't think he actually played anything. But
because I when my like now how I see him is like I like golf, so I follow a bunch of golf accounts, and I always see him commenting shit on these things.
Okay, so
like it seems like he's just like one of the boys.
I would say he's because he's a dad now, and I feel like once you become a dad,
You golf.
You
You golf.
You golf. You got to pick sports that ain't gonna fucking, you know, break your ankles or leave you out of commission.
And gets you out of the house for 4 to 6 hours.
Exactly. So he ain't gonna be golfing for a minute because he just had twins. But like, yeah, I know he fucks with golf.
That's funny. That's funny.
He's hockey and golf. Both of those. I know he loves.
I was gonna say, do like when you collab with other artists, do you feel like you bring another element to the table, being an artist producer? Like you know how to rap over beats, so you feel like you bring in a like different element to it?
Oh yeah, for sure. I think once I started actually producing, because I started out as a beat maker. I was just giving, like for Drake's projects back in the day, or for Comeback Season, I was more of a beat maker. You know, I was giving him the beat. He didn't really take too many of my ideas. Like sometimes I put ideas on shit and he wouldn't really take it. Like he more so just wanted the beat, and he appreciated what I did with the production. But once I started kind of putting out my own music and people seeing what I could do as an artist, I think people started appreciating, you know, my knack for hooks or my vision around tracks, how I could arrange shit. And they started asking me, yo, what should I do here? Or what do you think would sound good here? You know, even for like Talib to ask me like, yo, what, like, how do you think these bars sound and shit like that? I was just like, wow, like,
you tell me,
it's
man.
crazy. Like, you know what I mean? Like, even if I felt like someone was wrong, I was just like, I don't know how to tell him that shit because I don't want to tell Talib Kweli, oh, this not, yeah, you should change this. And even when I think I did tell him like, yo, I think you rushed that bar a little too much or something like that. I think he didn't respond. I was just like, oh, my bad.
I think you rushed that. Fuck you. That's
he put it on the album, paid me for the beat. So I'm like, okay, he's listening. I don't think he changed what I asked him to change, but you know, he was just like, yo, write a hook for it. I put a hook on that joint and then we did it. So yeah, like, you know, as time went along in my career, I think people started trusting me more because you kind of have to like show them how to do it to be able for them to trust you how to do it, right?
Yeah, because it was cool watching you at the Cranium, like, what was it, the Music Mastermind? What was it called?
The
Masterclass,
the Master Lab.
Because like
Master
that,
Lab
you were
class.
like proper.
Master Lab class.
It was like proper mentorship with you and Yogi. Like people were like showing you their production, and you're just like like giving critiques. Like when did you feel comfortable like critiquing other people and taking on more of like a mentorship role?
I think it probably had to be like when I started getting awards for my shit, I guess. I feel like I've always been critiquing things at different levels, but it's like I've always said like it's just my opinion, right? Like I could be totally wrong, right? Like, you know what I mean? I could say this is distorted, but then it could be like that type of music where it's like, you know, like when I first heard like Look at Me by XXX, like I was just like, yo, this shit is distorted as fuck. Like how are people gonna listen to this shit? And it became a hit, right? Like it became a legacy track for this nigga. So, you know, like I don't always have the right opinions, but I'm just going to go with what my ear says sonically. And sometimes if I hear enough of it and I know it's a thing, then I adjust and adapt how I think about it, right? Because music always changes every 4 or 5 years, and there's always a new sound. There's always a new kind of template how to do shit.
Adding, in my opinion, to the end of anything too, like takes all responsibility off your hands too. You know what I mean? And that's just what I would say. You know, that's not your fucking problem.
And that's
now.
why I named my solo album In My Opinion, because you know, at the end of the day, like I can't say anything is fact, right? Like fact, you know, rarely exists. Even the things that we think is fact is just a perception of how we see the world and how we see certain things. Like, yeah, we can call that rain and we can say it's dropping downwards, but like we're on a fucking floating ball in space. What's
could be
up?
coming
What's
sideways.
Down? What's up? What's down? You feel what I'm saying? So,
It's-
honestly, it's just, I always go into it saying like, yo, this is just my perception of it, and from the perspective of seeing how the musical landscape is. But as long as you believe in it and you can do it in the right way where it sonically sounds pleasing to certain people, you know what I mean? Like, my opinion doesn't really matter that much, but I think people put weight into my opinion because they look at what I do and they respect certain things that I do, and I appreciate that. So I just try to be as humble as I can with the advice. I always say I'm gonna be the Simon Cowell of whatever critique thing I'm doing, but I'm rarely a Simon Cowell. I'm rarely an
More of
asshole
a Randy
with it.
Jackson.
More of a Howie.
I'm more of a Randy
Howie
Jackson.
Mandel, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, like, I'm never really like, I'm definitely not a Paula Abdul.
No.
But like, I'll always give the real, always be humble, and I'll always give constructive criticism on where I feel like people can be better.
It's funny that you say like after you started winning awards is when you felt comfortable doing that. When you started or getting nominated for awards, do you once that starts happening, do you feel like you've kind of like found the formula of like how to make like a fully sound song that's gonna kind of, because you've made like hit songs, so like how do you feel like once
the crazy thing is no, because I've always blasted the Junos to a certain degree, and it's weird because it's like you've been repeatedly nominated and then you actually won one. Why would you blast the Junos? But it's like I feel like I always felt like until maybe this year, Junos didn't really fully pay attention to R&B and hip hop and really give it a space, right? Like this year is the first year that they put hip hop on the main stage, like Havaya Mighty, what's his name, Mustafa the Poet, giving the honor to Deborah Cox, right? And I salute them for finally getting there. But there's years of artists boycotting it, like Cardinal boycotted it one year. The hip hop award was never televised on the Sunday. It's always at the Saturday night gala. And whenever there'd be a Juno Fest event, it's not like they promoted the hip hop events or put hip hop artists in a place to perform for a large crowd, right? So it was kind of like they're just doing it just to do it, to say that they did it. And I was living through that era of realizing that, and I didn't put too much weight into nominations or awards. I just knew that it's a thing that I could put next to my name. So then, niggas would pay me maybe an extra $200, $300 on a performance or whatever. But
just stat pad in the
resume.
Like,
and I know certain people respect it, but you go back to the hood, they don't really I think more people in the street and the hood and everything, and people that I communicate with in Toronto know more about a Juno more this year than they ever did, right? And it's not until you get into the music game and then you're actually trying to be a successful music artist that these kind of things really matter. To the main people, it's kind of like how much impact are you putting in the street, or how much people are you bringing to a show? Where can you tour? Those kind of things I think matter the most, because it's the people. It's not about a selected judge panel of 20 industry people and artists that have to say that we like this, we like that, even though we never listened to this shit in our whole life. You know what I mean? So I think when I say that, when I got comfortable with critiquing people or critiquing art, when I got nominated for awards, it wasn't really because of necessarily the awards. I just knew I got to a place where I was more visible.
You could take my opinion off.
Yeah.
Well,
no, it's still there.
It's still your opinion, but your opinion holds a bit more weight. Perhaps,
a little bit more
you know
weight.
what I mean?
A little bit more weight. Yeah.
You should probably listen. I might know what I'm doing at this point.
I might know one too.
On a personal level, though, you said the bringing the people to the shows. The community building aspect. What you're putting out there. But on a personal level, I feel like there's some of those sort of unspoken things, I know you were produced on the J Electronica album that never made it out.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That shit, I bet you, you still think of those times, right? And I've read about you, you had a little, you and Kendrick might have.
Yeah, no, I've been around. I've opened up for Kendrick a whole bunch of places. We've linked up. He's recorded some stuff on my beats, but he just never put it out.
Where are they?
Somewhere in the TDE drives, bro. I have some shit with pretty much most of I have some shit with him, Absol,
Fuck off.
and J Rock. J Rock is
Damn.
like that's my dog. Like we all
J-Rock's
like
I love,
he
bro.
always checks for me, and that's the first guy I met from TDE, and he was first one I knew out of that crew, like hearing sonically like that I really fucked with. So I have a whole bunch of shit that just never drop. You know what I mean? It's just in the vaults. That's what they do. They record a whole bunch of shit, and it's just whatever makes a cutting floor makes a cutting floor.
What was that collaboration process like with them?
Well, with Kendrick, it was more so, you know, I had opened up for him, and then he did an interview and said he wants to fuck with, you know, with Weeknd, me, and some other producers and artists from the country. So when we tapped in, it was me sitting in the Good Kid, Mad City sessions and playing him some beats and stuff like that. And then eventually he recorded one. It was this beat called D-Lush, and he said he recorded something, and it was almost like a dance beat. It's crazy because it's like, it's something that I could probably hear like on the Drake album today.
Right.
Right? Like it had like that dance vibe to it. And he was just like, yo, that beat's hard. Like, I'm gonna do something on that. I'm like, sick, do it. I never heard it. But I just kept on hearing from other guys in the TDE circle say, yo, that joint you did is hard. Like it'd be those things where, like, even with like shit after comeback season, Drake would have some beats on some shit and or have some tracks on some of my beats, and I'd see Nico and he's like, yo, there's one that Drake did on his shit, bro, it's hard, and I never hear it. I don't know why. It's just,
They're probably
I guess they don't want me to leak shit, because I am notorious for, like, if you give me a joint and you're not gonna do nothing with it, I'm gonna put it out still. I've done that. I did that for a couple Drake tracks. Like one Drake track with Socrates called "The Search." I put that on one of my mixtapes because he wasn't doing nothing with it. He was already kind of like so far gone in that shit. And I was just like, yo, bro, this needs to go out. I was just like, Drake, let me put this out. No response. Fucking Oliver, let me put this out. No response. So I'm like, nigga, I'm just gonna put this shit out, bro.
For the people. I like
don't
that.
care.
Yeah.
I'm like, 40, let me put this out. He's just like, all right, put it out. If I get when I get 40's approval, doesn't matter about all those other guys. I was just like, I'm gonna put it out. But yeah, like, and with J Rock, like, Absol, I sent him beats. With J Rock, we was actually in the lab, like, really creating shit. And I remember I went and checked him, and he had like 5 tracks done. This was back in like 2011. He had like 5 tracks done in my shit.
That's
I
like,
was just like, wow, like, this nigga working hard.
that's like the Black Friday era, yeah. Was that what is? Yeah. That's that what that album's called? The black cover one?
No, that was his like, J Rock has like 3 albums. He has the Follow Me Home joint. He has 90059 or something, like some area code.
90059, and then there's 2 before that he dropped the same year. Like in 2011.
It was like mixtape kind of joints that he dropped with strange music.
Yeah, and they're fucking sick because like you kind of have like that early Kendrick and Absol and Schoolboy all riddled throughout it.
Black Hippie, man. I wish the album would have came out, man. That would have been dope.
Did you hear that one?
No, I just heard like some collabs that they never dropped, but I don't think they actually fully created an album.
So all the stuff you like collabed with TDE on, you haven't even heard like any of it.
No, well, J Rock shit. J Rock shit.
Okay.
J Rock is always sending me shit, or he'll FaceTime me and be like, he'll be drunk off the Jose Cuervo. He's like, yo, nigga, this shit's the next one, and then it just never comes out. I was just out there in LA with him, like, you know, tapped in with him, went to his crib, and we like cut like 3 joints, and I'm hoping these ones make the album. But like, he also played me like 40 joints that he has that are just sitting in like, you know, I had to like send because I don't have a Mac no more, so I use a PC, so I had to send him a joint through his email, download through the email and record it. Like, I recorded it on my computer, but I just seen a whole folder of like beats that niggas are sending him and shit like that. I'm just like, this nigga just records. That's all he does.
It's like when you see her texting someone else, you know what
right?
I mean? Like,
it's like, you know, when your girl goes to your phone and sees like, oh, all these bitches are hitting them up. Like, it was the same
no, they
shit,
just want beats, hon. Like,
they just want beats, baby. What kind of beats? But yeah, like, you know, it's just been cool to kind of like see their rise. You know what I mean? I seen Kendrick come from, you know, before Section 80, like around that time he was creating Section 80, and seeing his greatness then to just where he's at now with like this album that I feel like relates to me a lot. You know what I mean? This year's the first year I went to therapy, and you know, hearing that he's talking about those things. We're the same age and shit like that. Like when I first, you know, performed with him, you know, he was celebrating his birthday. Like when we had brought him out to perform at Rebel at the time. Well, it was Sound Academy then. Now it's Rebel. But it's like it's just crazy to see his growth, and I always appreciate when an artist can grow with you and fucking evolve into a different kind of person. You know what I mean? Like if you're not growing as an artist, what the fuck you doing? Like, you know what I mean? Like I understand always, you know, giving people bangers every summer and shit like that, but I always want my artists to that I fuck with to grow and show some sort of evolution. And I think he's done it the best. And even J Rock, like, you know, I think, you know, seeing him through his ups and downs. You know, I remember one time we were in the studio in LA and he came through. He was mad depressed. I think he had just got in a motorcycle accident and shit like that. And he was talking about just giving up rap. But then, you know, then he just started getting back into it. And I think he dropped 90059 and then Redemption, which my boy Crooklyn, who I introduced him to, produced on that. He produced Out of Sight, Out of Mind. And it's just like, you know, it's just hearing him revive himself and come back to it. It like gave me a lot of inspiration. So shout out to TDE, and hopefully like they figure out what they want to do after Kendrick leaves, because it's like, you know, that's a legacy artist, right?
It's a rebuilding year. You know what I mean? They got some like real cool signees to them too. Like,
oh, Zay is dope. You know what I mean? Like
I just saw Isaiah shot in Ottawa, and one of the opening acts, Rayvon.
Yeah, Rayvon's sick.
He's sick. He's a fucking proper performer.
Rayvon actually pulled up to the session with me and J Rock and shit, and I shot him some beats. He was fucking with some of them, so you know,
he's got a crazy story too.
Yeah,
he's got
like,
a crazy story.
I feel like that's the thing with TDE, man. Like they're all artists that have a certain like a story to them, where it's like, you know, like they came from rough times or certain situations, but like they found a way to find redemption in all of them through music.
Yeah. Did you have conversations like that with them, like that really kind of like inspired you or motivated you?
Yeah, like, you know, me and J Rock talk here and there, man. So, you know, he's taught me a lot about just LA culture and where he's come from and how he's been able to go through shit and come out, you know, the clean side of it. Even Zay, man, like, you know, me and Zay have tapped in. I've seen that nigga grow, and, you know, even throughout what he's been through in the last year and shit like that. Like, we never talked about that situation, but, you know, like, I just, you know, asked him about his family and just how he's dealing with that, and, you know, everything's good with him, and just, you know, him telling me about how he went through some rough shit with his family, but he's on the other side of it. It's just like they're real human beings, right? Like they just go through real life shit, but they have obviously shitload of fans, and there's, you know, celebrities to a certain demographic. So it's like, it's just seeing how they go through their life shit and still come out to create inspiring music inspires me. You know?
I want to just, like, I don't know how much time we have left here, but I want to, like, just kind of focus on, like, what you're saying, as in, like, you know, J-Rock, like, wanting to take that break, or you know, being a real human being. I think, like, through your music you can hear that as well, like, whether or not you're, like, even through your beats, whether you're rapping over them or giving them to other people. But I mean, you haven't had like something come out for a while necessarily. I mean, the last one was your Naturally Born Strangers collab there. It was like a year ago, I think I saw on your YouTube, and sorry, the name escapes me, but are you taking a break?
I took a break from rapping. I went through depression, you know, alcoholism. Like, yeah, I took a break because I needed to, I guess, find myself. I think part of, like, just doing this rap shit, you give a lot of yourself out there. Like, you put yourself out there. You talk about a lot of things that, you know, that you maybe through therapy you haven't really dealt with. And I think I needed that break because it was weighing down on me a lot. I was just, you know, fucking bare bitches raw, and, you know what I mean, just smoking bare weed, drinking fucking 2-4 of fucking Jameson to my face, and not really understanding why I loved music and why I did it for. Because I felt like I had to, like, be this way for labels, or I had to do this to get a placement, or I had to travel all these different places, and I just wasn't dealing with home.
Yeah,
the rock star lifestyle.
Kind of seems like, especially in Toronto, it's just such a fast moving industry.
You would think so, and it is to a degree, but then at certain times it's not. Like certain things stall because it's like you essentially have to leave your city to do shit. So when I was leaving my city to do shit, I was doing stuff elsewhere and just getting caught up in the life more than dealing with what I needed to deal with, right? Like back home, or just even like focusing on work, and then losing certain inspiration just because I was like, why am I doing this for, right? And I think I was talking to a certain person uh, uh, um, at the master lab yesterday,
Yeah.
and he was asking like, how do you stay motivated as an artist? I was just like, what's your motivation? And he was like, oh, like to make music for the ones that fuck with what I do and this and that. But I was just like, that's all good and great, but what's your internal motivation? Like, what drives you? What's your passion? What's the thing that you feel internally you have to prove to yourself? Is it that you got to be the best rapper? Is it you want to change the world through your lyrics or your messaging? Like, what is it internally for yourself that you want to do? Because at the end of the day, you can't really get motivated doing shit for other people. Like I'm not a great father just because I have a daughter here. Like I want to be a great father because I want to change the cycle of what my dad did to me and how he left me. I seen that, I witnessed that, and I don't want to become that same shit. So it's like I had to find more internal reasons of what I was doing it for, not so I can, make my manager happy or make my mom happy or all these other people happy. I had to make myself happy first before I could really come back and just feel like doing it for real. You know what I mean? And I think, finding this artist named Idman through the Remix Project program, which I started mentoring in 2017. I met her in 2018. She was in a program. She graduated from there and then moved to LA. Said she wanted to work on a project, and that kind of got me back into producing and songwriting, which I wasn't really doing for a couple of years. And she kind of like regained my love for like just creating music and actually like getting back into songwriting, penning stuff. And now she signed to Sony. We just released her joint today. It's called "Look at What I'm Doing to You." It's on all DSPs, on YouTube, released through Sony Arista. But like, she gives me that, and just even working through the Remix Project program, just seeing all the young artists makes me remember why I did this shit, why I love creating music, and eventually I might just put it back on wax for myself with like lyrics. I've been writing, I've been doing a whole bunch of shit, and I've always had like Sunreal in the back of my ear, like, yo, you need to record a project. Like I want you to record a project so we could do like a Closers too and da 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 da. But it's like I had to find myself. You know what I mean? Like I feel like anybody that doesn't do it for themselves, they're gonna run out of gas at some point and gonna feel like, yo, this music shit's not for me. And that's where I got to at a certain point. But then certain things always bring me back. Working with certain people just reminds me of like why I love this shit, why I love music. Not necessarily the business, not necessarily the glitz and glamour shit, but just the art form and expressing yourself in a way. And I think I had to also go through some life so I could have some shit to talk about this time around. You know what I mean?
No, it's dope to hear that through other people, it's reminding you
Yeah.
why you're doing this shit. And I was watching this Noisy thing that you did where the guy was like taking sounds from Toronto and then you rapped over it.
Oh yeah, Professor Green. Yeah.
And you had a bar in there about advancing your neighborhood or something like that.
Yeah.
I forget the exact line, but it's crazy because that was in 2014. And last night at the Crane thing, I was talking to you and you said something else about like how you want to like advance like neighborhoods and like build like an actual culture and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So like that's always kind of been your mission. So speaking on the Remix Project, like can you explain a bit about that?
Yeah, so the Remix Project, I was in it 'cause
you graduated from it, right?
Yeah, so I was in it 2006 in the inaugural round of programming, and it basically takes youth from the inner city and the GTA and puts them through programming where it helps them figure out what they want to do in the music industry or in the entertainment industry. So there's 3 streams: there's recording, business, and then there's also a creative aspect. And I was in the music program. Like I said before, 40 was one of my mentors. It taught me how to like mix and create tracks and kind of like just really produce stuff. And just watching him do shit like kind of inspired me to kind of pay it forward. So I always stuck around Remix throughout the many years that went by and kind of help mentor or just went back, gave advice, or worked with some of the artists and, you know, some of the people that came through there. Wonder Girl, Jesse Reyes, Savannah Ray, um, just to name a few, but Francis Got Heat, just so many different like artists that, you know, I've met before the program that, you know, I either told them like, yo, you need to take your talents to remix, or, you know what I mean, like remix would be good for you. And like they came through there, graduated, and are now part of that history, kind of like made the program grow. We were able to get more funding. And then I joined as a mentor, like an official mentor, 2017, where I now kind of oversee who's in the music program. So I pick 15 to 20 youth, usually like, you know, 10 artists, 5 producers, 2 engineers, 3 DJs. And we just go through a 9-month program of like just, you know, different panels, different workshops, different lectures, field trips, and then they get studio time. We have a studio set there. We have a DJ lab. We have a production room. And we just let these guys kind of like build and collaborate with each other, kind of like how I did back in the day. And it's a great experience because I think a lot of people that are in the program don't necessarily have access to that network of people to kind of like just rely on and to holler at to mix their tracks or to produce their shit or to songwrite for them. And I think a lot of these youth kind of come out of it understanding like they understand business, but they understand the importance of like building community and having that network of people you could rely on. And a lot of them become like cool, like great friends after that, and work with each other, and some manage each other, and some work with each other, do photos for each other. It's like, it's a real tight community, almost like a fraternity or a sorority in a way. And, you know, I'm just happy to still be a part of that and help it grow and see it go into the future. And now, you know, different artists come through the city, you know, we kind of bring them through there. You know, Earth Gang came the other day.
Fire.
Oh, that's sick.
And checked out the program, and, you know, like,
I want to be a part of this shit.
Right? Right? It sounds dope, right? And, you know, they were just like, yo, man, we need something like this in Atlanta, man. This is amazing, and this shit like that. And, you know, ended up giving, you know, all the youth some tickets to the concert that day.
Oh,
and,
yeah, they just had a show in Toronto, right?
Yeah, at History.
Sick.
So, you know, it's a program that, like, you know, has a near 20-year legacy, and it's just continuing to grow, and hopefully we can get more funding so we can go other places and try to do, you know, we just did a 2-day workshop in Halifax like a couple weeks ago. We've gone to Vancouver, and we brought out certain artists like Murder Beats and like Brian Michael Cox and a whole bunch of like different writers and artists to like just talk about what they do, and then also have like workshops and panels about just how to instill programming in different places where, you know, their scenes aren't really, I wouldn't say developed, but just don't have that community aspect. I think that's what's helped Remix survive this long. It's like all these community partners helping us grow. And, you know, internal funding, external funding from the government, private funding, you know, OVO, MLSE, you know, different Daniels, lots of funders like that have helped, you know, keep this shit alive, and the belief of what we do, you know what I mean, reflects in the artists that come out the program and do great shit.
Building from the bottom up, you know?
Facts,
And
the
from within,
grassroots shit.
and from within.
Yep.
It's beautiful stuff, man.
I like how you said too, like you want to bring it to other cities, because I know we got to wrap this up because the camera's probably gonna die.
Yeah.
But I just gotta ask, because I feel like we didn't touch enough on like your actual production.
Mm.
Because last night you said something interesting about how, like, the comparison with like American and Canadian like music, and you feel like Canadians go to America to add like a little sauce to like what they got going on over there. So do you feel like Canadian artists are still like just going to America just to add to what they're doing? Or do you think that we're bringing our own thing?
We're definitely, we've always brought our own thing, but it's just our industry hasn't really supported us doing our own thing here enough. And, you know, thank God to the grant system, and the grant system helps us survive, right? But it's like, you know, I just remember a lot of OGs saying like, yo, they don't want to take grants because they feel like it's welfare. And yeah, to a degree, but fuck, why aren't you gonna
Free
take
money.
free money around other people? OPM, bro. Even if
Some
you go,
people are happy as fuck on welfare.
that's true. And even if you go to the States and you get signed to a label, or you get a publishing deal, or get a recording contract, you're still borrowing money. It's not your money, right? It's only, the difference is you got to pay that shit back, right? So I have no problem with utilizing grants here and doing your thing here, but when you want to see it expand and when you want to see the dollars start to make sense, and even if you want to start touring and doing more shit, it just only makes sense to expand outwards. The thing is, Class is kind of like a unicorn, because even though he had like a little stint in the States and had, I think, a deal with Sony, he's been able to acquire the majority of his net worth just touring Canada, selling music in Canada. And he got a big ass house. He got a big ass house. He got a big RV that he just goes and tours around the place with, and sometimes just goes downtown Halifax and parties with his boys. But like I said, just be real, just as a black person or a lot of black people in the community, it's like we can't necessarily do that. And not because, necessarily our skin color, but it's more about a relatability factor. And that's important in music, when people see their reflection of themselves in you and vice versa. I think Classified has been able to talk to them in a way where they understand it. Whereas Toronto is a very, even though it may look cool from the outside, it's a very insular culture. Maybe even like inner city Ottawa or inner city Montreal, it's very closed in, especially Montreal because of the Francophone shit. But it's just like, it's very inside, and not too many people from the outside necessarily get it, right? And it's the same in states in a way. Like, New York had a certain vibe that was just very New York centric, and it's not like people from the South were totally onto it. But the thing is, New York started this hip hop shit, so it was the only thing you could listen to. Like, and the States just takes it differently. So I think for us, it's like, we got to go where the money's at. We got to look at it as a business kind of thing, but also stay here, cultivate yourself in the scene, be outside, connect with people, network with people so they know who you are, so you can always come back and do shit that's great, beneficial for your community, or do shows. But you got to expand yourself out there. Not only the States, so UK, France, which is like the second biggest hip hop market in the world, Australia, which is a big hip hop market. Like, there's a lot of different places you can go that you can expand to and bring your message out there. Even places where they don't speak English, where they'll probably fuck with you more than Canada, which is weird. Like, I'd be hearing about Night Lavelle, how in Russia this nigga's big, right? And they probably don't understand half the shit this nigga's saying. But it's like,
he's selling out shows there, and he's like, I don't think they understand me. He says it in the No Jumper thing. He's like, yeah, they love me in Russia, but I have, like, there's such a disconnect,
right? And it's because in certain other places they're not. I think in Canada we're just looking too hard about who this person is, what they're saying. Like, it's just too. I don't even know the word for it, but I think in these European countries, they just admire the art. They admire how it matters how things look and how they sound, but there's just a more of appreciation for it. And we shouldn't hold ourselves back and think like, here's the only place we should do it. Right?
Straight up.
That's the greatest note as I could leave it on.
Yeah.
Right.
Yo, this is dope, man. Thanks for coming by. I really appreciate it.
First episode, new look down to the wire.
Yes, sir.
Bang, bang.
Shout the fuck out.
Rich Kid here, Cranium Weekend. It's been dope, man. Thanks for coming to the city, man. We appreciate it.
Thank you for inviting me. It's been a pleasure, just chopping it up, talking shit. We didn't have as many ass jokes as
Listen, we got
next time. Part 2, we'll just strictly make it a
part
comedy
2
show.
is just straight ass.
Yeah.
All ass.
Thanks again, man. Peace
problem,
out, y'all.
Good coming